Hey everyone, today we are diving into the employment, part-time employees regulations in Singapore. Whether you're an employer or an employee, understanding your rights and obligations for part-time work can make all the difference. So let's break down these regulations and see what they mean for you. First off, let's define what the employment, part-time employees regulations are. These regulations come under the Employment Act of Singapore and are designed specifically to protect part-time employees. A part-time employee is someone who works less than 35 hours a week. The regulations aim to ensure that part-time employees are treated fairly, especially when it comes to wages, leave entitlements, and other employment benefits. They set out minimum standards for employers to follow, much like the provisions for full-time employees, but tailored for part-timers. One important aspect is wages. Companies cannot shortchange part-time employees. Wages must be calculated on an hourly basis, and this should be stated in the employment agreement. Now, what about overtime? Part-time employees are entitled to overtime pay if they work more than their agreed hours. If they exceed 44 hours a week, they must be paid at least 1.5 times their basic hourly rate. Another key provision under the part-time regulations is leave entitlements. Part-time employees are entitled to the same leave as full-time employees. For instance, annual leave is prorated based on the number of hours worked. So if a full-time employee gets 14 days of annual leave, a part-timer would get a proportionate amount depending on their hours worked. Similarly, they are also entitled to sick leave and public holidays on a prorated basis. This means that part-time workers receive the benefits they deserve, even if they are working fewer hours per week. One common question employers and employees often have is whether CPF contributions are still applicable for part-time employees. The answer is yes. CPF contributions must be made for part-time employees if they earn more than $50 a month and are Singapore citizens or permanent residents. The CPF contribution rates are the same as those for full-time employees, although they are calculated based on the part-time employees' earnings. Now let's talk about rest days. Just like full-time employees, part-timers are entitled to one rest day per week. If they are asked to work on their rest day, they are entitled to a higher pay rate. Companies must also issue part-time employees with a written contract detailing their terms of employment. This contract must include the number of hours the employee is expected to work, their hourly rate, and any entitlements such as leave and overtime pay. This ensures transparency and helps avoid disputes later on. Why are these regulations so important? Well, part-time employment has been on the rise, especially with the gig economy and the increasing demand for flexible work arrangements. The part-time regulations ensure that these employees have the same basic protections as full-time workers and are not left vulnerable to exploitation. Companies should take note that non-compliance with these regulations could lead to penalties under the Employment Act. So there you have it, a quick rundown of the part-time employees regulations in Singapore. Whether you're an employer looking to hire part-time workers or an employee considering part-time work, it's crucial to understand these rules to ensure that rights are protected and obligations are met. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.